Hello and welcome. Yes, it's the 65th running of the world's greatest endurance race. And before the event, there was spectacle aplenty. The drivers, of course, paraded in front of the 250,000 plus fans. And meanwhile, we even had Brazilian samba dancers, obviously putting a smile on Bob Wallach's face there. Franz Conrad and his team, and the Hawaiian Tropic Girls, they come back to Le Mans every year to put a smile on the face of all the lads. The doves are released, the flags are unfurled, and there's time enough to present some special awards to gentlemen who have helped play a major part in the running of the race. Now the Audacity Award goes to Hajime Kawasaki, Nissan's Director of Research and Development. Le Mans delighted that Nissan have returned to race here, and here, the one they want to win. But of course, in reality, there's only 10 or maybe 15 cars capable of doing so. The Sky drivers dropped in with supreme accuracy. It's all part of the razzmatazz. The old Jaguar flags are still out. They won, of course, in 1990. Then their star driver was Martin Brundle, and he's back, this time spearheading a new TWR Nissan Attack. 3 exciting cars there. But there is Michele Alboreto in the car which won last year. That is also a TWR car. Here is Bob Wallach. Here's one of those Nissans, Hoshino, Comas and Kageyama. And there Riccardo Patrese, the former Grand Prix driver, tempted back to motor racing by the lure of Le Mans. And here's another ex-Grand Prix driver. It's Jean-Pierre Jarier. He's driving the lead GT2 car. Here the grid, you see on pole position that special Yost TWR Porsche, and alongside it the best of the factory Porsche 911s. And then further down the field, a strong group of Courages, one of them driven by Mario Andretti, together with his son Michael. Indeed, it's one of the strongest grids for many years. Over 30 former Grand Prix drivers taking part. The seconds tick away, and then the cars will go off around this superb circuit for their first exploratory lap, and then it's a rolling start, remember, at Le Mans, and exactly at 4 o'clock they'll blast off for a race around the clock. Some cars just weaving a little bit to try and build some temperatures into the tyres. And there's an interesting car, the red car in your foreground, just going through, one of the 2 Ferrari prototype entries. We have a number of in-car cameras, they'll bring you some great action. Porsche numerically the strongest mark in the race, not only with that Yost Porsche, with the 2 factory 911 GTs, then with some 8 customer 911 GT1s, and then also the GT2 Porsches. The Nissan peels off, and the race is on. And they head up towards the Dunlop Bridge. And then after the Dunlop Bridge coming down, a change, and already Alboreto has been passed by one of the 2 factory GT1 cars that many fancy for victory. All 48 cars getting away cleanly. And immediately into the lead, it's the number 25 Porsche, driven by a very experienced group indeed. Bob Wallach, Hans Stuck and Thierry Boutsen. It's Wallach at the wheel, the 53-year-old veteran from Alsace. And now we can see it in replay. And look at the black car there. That is the Paynos of the Dams team, and some damage on the warming up lap, obviously having a nudging match. You see various bits of debris flying off the car, and that is almost certain to come back into the pits. Frank Lagorce, incidentally, at the wheel. But a fast pace being set immediately. In the front, the 25 GT1 Porsche flames licking out. And look at that, and Nissan has moved into second place. The brand new Nissans, they feature V8 twin-turbo engines, and there's that Dams team run Paynos, having a bit of attention to the front. And I'm sure that's something over 24 hours they can overcome. And very early on, this trio broke away. in the lead, the number 25 Porsche, but challenging for second place. Michele Alboreto outbreaks Eric van der Poel in the best of the Nissans. Quickly, this trio had broken away from the rest of the field, but this was early days in the first hour. This superb track in the west of France, carved out mainly on public roads, although this section here, the Ford chicane, is actually a special piece of track which was built some 20 years ago. And now into the final chicane. Porsche, Jost Porsche, and then this Nissan. Down here, going onto the Mulsanne straight, and then you see the pursuers, and they're led by the Ferrari, then the second of the factory Porsches, and then the best of the BMW McLarens. BMW factory putting substantial finance, and a change at the front, and Alboreto really in the swing of it now. He locks up under braking, but Michele Alboreto, the 40-year-old former Ferrari driver, 5 Grand Prix he won during that part of his career. Then he raced successfully in America. And now Michele Alboreto, who has not raced very regularly at Le Mans, raced 3 times for Lancia back in the 80s, and then last year drove the sister car to this particular TWR Jost Porsche. This a very light prototype car, probably weighing almost 100 kilos less than the 2 cars chasing it. But because it's in the prototype class, it has to actually stop more often for fuel because it has to run a smaller fuel tank. Now, it is slightly more fuel efficient, so there's a trade-off there. Didier Thys there, the Belgian driver in the Italian-entered Ferrari, although that car often races over in America. And here, a problem for the number 64 car. That's the private Chamberlain Viper. 3 factory Vipers in the race, but this is the Chamberlain car. And problems with the gear lever. Apparently the gear lever had come loose. And there you see the best of the privateer Porsches challenging the Ferrari. The Kramer Porsche of Christophe Bouchou, Bertrand Gachot and Andy Evans. And a problem for the BRM prototype. John Mangaletz's car relies on Nissan horsepower. A new engine fitted to that car for the race, and appropriately it stops at the Nissan chicane on the Mulsanne straight. And a little wisp of blue smoke there. It looks to me as if the engine's expired. Oh, what a disaster for that team. But we go in car now with the JB Racing Porsche GT1, Alain Ferté, Oliver Trevenant and Jürgen von Gartzen. I believe it is Ferté at the wheel as he chases after one of the 3 Nissans. And now he's tucked right up in the slipstream of the Japanese car, with the British-built Japanese car, and that might help him get past, but a bit of weaving going on. Some exciting racing here at Le Mans. Still very much the early stages. Problems for the second of the 2 Ferraris. Actually, this is Michel Ferté, Alain's brother, the driver we just rode with. And work going on that car. It is actually Michel Ferté sitting at the wheel at the moment. And yes, the BRM is retiring. There is Toivonen. Yes, the hand signals say it all. He's out of the race. What disappointment for them in the very first hour. Didier Thys getting fuel. And there's a Porsche in trouble, and that's Alan McNish's car. Alan McNish, the Scottish driver, just in the chicane by the karting arena, the Alan Prost karting arena. And it's difficult to see, but that car looks in big trouble. And also big trouble here for the number 46 Lister Jaguar. 2 of these cars which carry the hopes of many British fans. But meanwhile, a very good performance indeed from the pink McLaren, just leading Mario Andretti. The pink McLaren driven by 2 Japanese drivers and Gary Isles, the young British driver who's previously raced in Ferraris. But meanwhile, here's an excursion for one of the Courages. taking the wild old ride, and that's the number 8 car of Collard, Pescarola and Belloc. That's the car which is backed by the French Motor Racing University La Filière, sponsored by ELF, and I'm not sure they teach them that in the classroom. A little bit of onboard action here through the chicane once again. And there's that bright pink McLaren again, and that's Keiichi Tsuchiya at the wheel, and he has been doing an outstanding job. Well, the first round of pit stops, Michele Alboreto, you notice, staying at the wheel for a second stint. And that pit stop happening after about 43 minutes. And back on board with Alain Ferté, soaring at the wheel and taking to the grass. These Porsches, of course, the flat 6 engine, and discussions in the pits. And that's the Swede Fredrik Ekblom, who'd been doing an outstanding job out there, well inside the top 10 with that Courage, staying in for a second stint, and the leading of the 4 Courages, all those cars using Porsche engines, indeed the same Porsche engine that is fitted to the factory GT1s. They may look very different, the open top Porsches and the GT cars, but they all have basically the same engine in it. And so the first pit stop from the Porsche coming at 45 minutes into the race. It'll be very interesting to see how long it is before the McLaren BMWs come in. Have they got better fuel consumption? It might make a lot of difference over the space of 24 hours. Another of the Paynos is there, spitting flames. Ekblom back on the track. And what's happening here? Oh, a very hairy moment. Ekblom dives down the inside of the Paynos, and then another Courage takes to the gravel. Well, fortunately getting away with that. Obviously we've got quite a disparity of speeds. There's the Lister Jaguar. And meanwhile the Paynos goes on its way. And a pit stop very soon after the Porsche for the number 43 McLaren. That's Peter Cox, Revaglia and Eric Hellery, a former winner. And here we have a Marcos in trouble. A little British manufacturer, one of their cars didn't get in. And here's the number 70 machine of the Dutchman Koreuyser with Harold Becker and the Japanese Toshio Suzuki. And after 1 hour, that was the position. Most of the pit stops accomplished. And the Jost Porsche in the lead by just 1.6 seconds. There it goes, an outstanding job by Michele Alboreto. And already cars being lapped. There, the yellow and black car is one of the leading GT2s, and it ducks out of the way as a Nissan blasts past. That's Enzo Calderari. And it looks as if the Paynos was limping, and problems for that Ferrari of Michel Ferté, stranded out on the Mulsanne straight. Well, he gets it going again. Not sure if that was the result of a spin or... No, it really doesn't want to go, that car, does it? Well, now it's underway. Well, here's a Paynos already in the pits. And the Ferrari limping. That could be something like a fuel pump problem. And a big cloud of smoke coming out of the back of the Marcos, and that is not going to go very far at all, no question, doubt about that. Just look at that. The vaporized oil leaving that great smoke trail behind the Marcos Chevrolet engine in that car, and still the Ferrari is trying to make it over the hill. A bit of a tall order. And that Paynos in the pits apparently has gearbox problems. Alboreto in the lead then in the second hour, chased by the 2 factory Porsches. And what's going on here? In fact, I think this is the battle for third place, and that's a wild old place to overtake, and I think that is the number 26 car. Yes, that's the Yannick Dalmas, Ralph Kellener's Emmanuel Collard car. I think it's Kellener's at the wheel. Well, that could so nearly have ended in disaster. The Marcos still limped in, and oh, just even blowing smoke rings. Just look at that. Well, that car is unquestionably history. And here's a problem, and this is the Lister Jaguar, the second of the two. George Fouché at the wheel. The South African comes to Le Mans every year, and that damage, I think, can only have been done by George backing it into the wall. Meanwhile, the Hoshino Komas Kageyama Nissan has spun. Now we can see what happens down at the slowest corner on the circuit. Arnage, very tricky approach, misses the apex, goes out wide, the tail takes over, the Golf McLaren slips through and fortunately does not hit the Armco barrier. So just embarrassing, couple of seconds lost. No problem in a 24-hour race. And the Nissan's looking pretty strong. But so too are the McLaren BMWs. Two cars from the Schnitzer team, sponsored by FINA. Two cars from the British GTC team, sponsored by Golf. A third car actually caught fire during the qualifying and was too badly damaged. And then, of course, the Lark car we've already seen. There is the British driver, Steve Soper, getting into the cockpit. JJ Leto climbs out. And the pit stop taking 56.4 seconds, up there on the caption. And then pulling out of the pits and immediately into the new chicane area just before the Dunlop Bridge. And here's that black Paynos again that was in trouble right at the very beginning. And the French-driven, largely French-driven Golf McLaren having a wild odd spin here. I think it is Jean-Marc Gounon driving and spinning right in front of the three cars. Absolutely amazing. And is he going to be rammed? He must be. No, amazingly, Mauro Baldi in that Porsche manages to drive round him. And, well, that was a heart-stopping moment. Could have collected all three of the pursuers there. And continues on his way. And the Porsche delayed a little bit by that incident. Here's another of these leading Porsches. That's the factory car there, the number 26 car. And chased by the Scuderia BMS car from Italy. And you can see how hard the brakes are working there. The carbon fibre disc glowing cherry red. They'll have to be changed during the race. They wear so much they have to be replaced. And those pit stops always take a little longer. Well, Michele Alboreto climbs out, his second stop. The car still in the lead. Stefan Johansson, another former Ferrari driver. He drove with Ferrari at the same time as Alboreto in the 80s. He's also been racing out in the States. He has gone into semi-retirement this year, has Johansson, but could not resist driving this superb piece of Anglo-German engineering. And there is Stefan wearing the shades. So he takes over the lead car. And a spin from the Paynos, that's the one we saw in the pits with gearbox trouble, Brabham McCarthy and the American Doc Bundy. Paynos have been struggling to try and find more power from their engines. This is a Reynard design chassis and handles apparently superbly. Now here is that Japanese run McLaren, or British run for BMW Japan, and slow-mo shot, seeing it getting away from its driver. I think it's now Nakaya at the wheel and leaving big black marks. Meanwhile, we go back in car. I think we're with one of the FINA McLarens here. Yeah, that's the car we rode with, number 42. And indeed, that car has moved up. Now we can see the two different Paynoses and one of the Works Vipers here. And another slow-mo shot. And the two Paynoses almost collecting each other. And the 55 car going really wide. And losing time. They really do look like Batmobiles, don't they? So there is the McLaren. That McLaren has now split the two factory Porsches. Already time to relax a little bit. And the number 8 car has had another spin into the gravel. This time it's the veteran Henri Pescarolo at the wheel. And La Grande Pesca, they call him. This is his 31st Le Mans, just think about that. And this is how it happened down at Tete Rouge Corner. Very bumpy entry into there, and a cloud of smoke. You can hardly see who it is. And the garage may have to be towed out of there. That kitty litter can be quite grabbing at times. And a fuel spillage in the pit of number 39, but the car wasn't delayed at all. And meanwhile, here's one of the leading factory Porsches trying to find a way past our camera car and the Panos. And that's what it looks like from inside. Going through the second chicane, and then left, and then again up the gearbox. Of course, the Mulsanne Straight used to be the fastest part of the racetrack in years gone by, before those two chicanes were added. Whether they crest the rise, probably at somewhere in the region of 250 kilometers an hour. And this looks like an unscheduled stop for a Nissan. And work on the back of the car, and they're working on the oil cooler, and looks as if there's a big problem with the oil cooler. And that is being changed, and that's a problem for Nissan. So that was the fastest of the cars, Van der Poel. Here's Oliver Griard, who is sharing with Andretti, father and son. And the Martini Pescatori, Antonio Herman, he's a Brazilian amateur driver, is in the gravel. I think it is the latter of the three drivers. Now we can see exactly what happened. Well, I'm not sure what did happen there. Suddenly the car snaps sideways and spins off backwards. And the gravel flies. It may need a tow out of there. Sometimes you can get away with it. Well, the marshals are on hand. Huge number of marshals around here. And this is the number 46 Vista Jaguar. That's the car driven by Julian Bailey, Thomas Erdos and Mark Scaife. And a rear puncture. The other car already out. And meanwhile, Rocky Augusta and his Corvette, which had been going very well in GT2, with a problem. There is little Lilian Briner, who is driving a GT2 Porsche, former winner of the BPR GT2 series. Now, more slow-mo shots, and that won't do the front of that Nissan any good at all. That's the number 22 car. That's the Van der Poel Patrese Aguri Suzuki machine. And keeping it going, ploughing across the gravel. And takes the short way round, but losing time. And just looking at the front of the car, it doesn't look as if there's too much damage. But sometimes those sort of incidents can bend the suspension. Well, a couple of Vipers and the Panos, all three front-engine cars, notice. And that Viper, the 62 car, leading GT2, Tommy Archer, the young French driver, Sohail Ayari, and also Marc Duez driving that. Marc Duez, the Belgian, who also is a very successful rally driver, one of motorsport's great all-rounders. Second in GT2, Jean-Pierre Jarret, we saw him before the start, Chirot and Leconte in their Porsche. Oh dear, and in the barrier it is the Lark McLaren. And that's obviously spun off, and just difficult to see how much damage is done. That car was running very strongly. It even got up to second place during the fuel stops and just nudges the Armco. Well, that shouldn't be a real problem. He's got to fire it up again and drive out of there. Marshals just push him away. Obviously concerned down in the pits, though. And I think that's Akihiko Nakaya who was at the wheel. And there now the two Porsches looking very impressive indeed, running absolutely nose to tail. We're 3 hours into the race now, and those two Porsches have moved ahead of the Jost Porsche with Johansson at the wheel. The extra pit stops starting to play. Now, here's the man who's spun it off. Well, looks in the mirror. He'll have to tell him what happened when he gets back to the pits. Time for a bit of barbecuing. Oh, certainly smells good. And here, the Stuck Wallick Boutsen car, as I said, now in the lead of the race. We are 3 hours in. Coming into the pits, the fastest of the McLarens, the number 42 car. And this time, Nelson Piquet, the 3 times world champion from Brazil, now partly retired, and he's climbing aboard. And Nelson now also developing a racetrack in Brazil, and he's even returned to his old love of Formula 3 cars, driving in a race the other day. And Nelson takes out the McLarens, which of course this year in their long tail form, quite a lot of other modifications. They're lighter than they were last year. They now have a sequential gearbox, altogether more of a racing car. You see that one Nissan still in the pits with that oil cooler problems, and reports that the oil coolers are literally falling apart. And in fact, all 3 Nissans in, so a big problem for Nissan. There's some of the work going on with the oil coolers. Apparently some late modification has meant that the oil coolers have had to be repositioned. Because of that, they're getting more heat, and that heat is literally unmelting the solder on them. So here is the Achilles heel of the Nissan, and obviously this is a long-term program. They didn't expect to win in the first year. They learn about problems like this, and then they come back next year, and there's no question of doubt at all that Nissan are taking Le Mans very seriously indeed. Cars have run very strongly. They're superbly prepared, superbly designed, and of course TWR marshalling the group very well indeed. But there is this Achilles heel at the moment, and it appears that all 3 cars have got exactly the same problem. Oh, big moment here for the 67 Saleen Mustang. Nice to see Mustangs back after, what, 20-odd years. Price Cobb, Steve Saleen, Carlos Bilbao car. And going for a big spin, and that left a lot of gravel on the track. You have to be so careful at Le Mans. Gravel is often thrown up, get offline, and that could also pitch you off. 63 Viper, that's the older version. Justin Bell, the son of 5-times winner Derek Bell, at the wheel of that particular car. Well, one Nissan is able to get back into the race, but they've dropped right back down into the 30s. And just seeing what's going on here at the Nissan chicane, and it looks like a Conrad Porsche having a very big moment indeed. Franz Conrad, who shares that car with Mauro Baldi. And also they brought in the British driver Robert Nern, a big break for him. Robert, whose father actually constructs the Caterham 7 cars, of which so many come down to Le Mans. It's very interesting. All around the car parks, these groups of various enthusiasts clubbing together, enjoying the atmosphere, the food, but not too much sun at this year's Le Mans. It's been grey and overcast most of the time. Oh, and what's this? A great big spin under the Dunlop Bridge. This is the difficult section. And then the run down into Tête Rouge. And the sole remaining Newcastle United football team back car gets away with that, but very lucky indeed. Just trying to see, I think it's Tommy Erdos, the Brazilian, driving. More glowing brakes. The race wearing on into the 5th hour. To see the sole Lotus there, never really in contention, that Lotus. And this is the number 43 car. Look at the disc there. Fireworks display from the discs. That's the Cox, Rivaglia and Hillary car. The other Schnitzer BMW, incidentally, has been in the pits for a very long time with a problem with a water pipe, now being fixed, but losing any chance of victory, taking over half an hour to fix. And already the cars are starting to look travel-stained. There we focus in on those glowing carbon fibre discs, and all that dirt you see down is not from the racetrack. That's all dust. And a problem, and look at the flames. The number 60 car, that's Sohail Ayari, and he bails out, and the car suddenly burst into flames, but there is damage at the back, so perhaps there he'd spun off first, and the car burning very strongly indeed. Maybe an oil line was knocked off, or a fuel line, with the impact, and we don't know exactly what happened yet. That is Sohail Ayari, the car he was sharing with Tommy Archer, and that car was well in the lead of the GT2 section. So a major disappointment for them. Just to reiterate, the driver is out of the car. Others go by, and the marshals... Oh, all of a sudden it burst into flames again. Well, the marshals are doing all the right things, but maybe the fuel pump's still going and spraying fuel out. You get this occasionally. And up it goes yet again. So obviously there is a fire engine on command there. And this is what happened. IRE just losing it. Runs it all down the concrete wall. Bits fly off. By then it was in retirement. Too much damage. The rear wheel is knocked akimbo. And finally the car comes to a halt. And IRE, the very talented French Formula 3000 driver, has got a bit of explaining to do. Finally the car came to rest. And it was then that it burst into flames. Just seeing the Momo Ferrari going by. That's just lying in 9th or 10th place. Concern there in the Chrysler pit. And, oh, that's the Lark McLaren. And I think that's Nakano again, and he tried it once before. I think it was at the same place, and now he's done it in a far more comprehensive way. Difficult to tell from this angle. Now we see it. There he is. Gets it onto the curb. Too much right foot, and spins inwards and into the Armco barrier very hard indeed, and that one is history. What a shame. That car, with Gary Ailes at the wheel, had been running up in 5th place, and the marshals doing their job so well. In the pits, work continues. That's the JB Racing Team Porsche. Ferté, Trevenard and Von Gartzen. See, Oliver Trevenard takes over, and he used to race a Ferrari F40 for the pilot team. See one of the big screens there that helps the fans see what's happening around the circuit. There's Jean-Pierre Jarier. I notice he wears glasses these days at the wheel. Jumper Jarier. He's lying in 3rd place in the GT2 category. Put on a bit of weight since the days when he was in Formula 1 with teams like Shadow. And so the sun sets over the Sartre. And there in the pits is, that's the Mazda, that's Frank Frion. He always drives for that Cosdu Mazda team together with Terada, and Jim Downing, the constructor from California. And it is Frion who's taking the car out. That car with a rotary engine has not been in contention this year in the prototype class. But it's still great to have Mazda back here. With a golden setting sun, and the gold too on the disc brakes as they glow there. What a stunning shot of the Schubel Engineering Porsche. And also we see the number 61 Dodge Viper. This is the Beretta, Gash and Dupuis car. Well, you won't get a better shot of that. And you don't get a complete circle there because the brake caliper is in the way. On then to the night. At Le Mans, sometimes it tends to rain in the night, but that was not the case. Here's a Nissan, yet another Nissan, getting yet another new oil cooler. A car limping there. It's the Jarier car, so obviously a very big problem, maybe in the engine department. Meanwhile, oh, and we've got another one off, and it's, yes, it's that Lister Jaguar yet again. And it's well and truly beached this time. Well, at the moment, it's at the front. The 2 factory Porsche GT1s, and then the TWR Yost Porsche. And here we see how, well, it looks to me as if maybe the brakes locked up. And another spectacular shot. So the lights arc through the evening, and there you see confirmation of the 2 GT1s running in front of the Porsche, the TWR car, and then the 3 McLarens, a Golf car, then one of the FINA cars, and then the second of the Golf cars. So in 4th place, the best of the non-Porsches, Jean-Marc Gounon, Pierre-Henri Raffanel, driving with the talented Swede Anders Olofsson, who is actually without a regular drive this year. Last year he drove one of the regular Ferrari F40s. So the night has fallen. In the pits, a Courage receives attention. That's the car that's going so well early on with Frederick Ekblom at the wheel. And some attention to the car. Quite sure what the problem is. Regular refueling for the 25. And indeed, the pit's an absolute hive of activity. And interestingly, the number 25 car, driven by Stuck, Wallach and Boutsen, has tended to be a little bit more frugal than the 26 car. There's Thierry Boutsen, concentration written all over his face. The Nissan of Van der Poel, Patrese and Suzuki. Maybe another oil cooler problem. Some welcome fluid. And this is the all-night vigil for the workers. And now the 26 car comes in. The two Porsches running very closely together indeed a lot of the time. 26 car seeming to be just that little bit faster on the track. Kelleners climbs out. Climbing back aboard is Yannick Dalmas. Yannick, a 3 times winner of this race, driving with 2 injured fingers. He has had them bound up and he's been refusing to sign autographs. Crashed very heavily at a test at Spa in Belgium, wrote off a car and broke some fingers. Thierry Boutsen, another of the Porsche pit stops here. Norbert Singer there, the engineering boss of this team. Boutsen ready to climb on board. These pit stops every 45 minutes or so. Hans Stuck climbs out of the car. But this is the lead machine. Been waging quite a battle with its sister car. And nevertheless, still keeping a watching brief on the same lap, the TWR Jost Porsche, the open car. So it's not just a total runaway by the Porsche factory team. Some Nissan fans waving their flag. Well, largely disappointment for them. There's the 21 car. That's driven by Martin Brundle, Jörg Müller and Wayne Taylor, the South African, drafted in at the last minute, just 5 days before the race after Mauro Martini was actually injured riding a mountain bike, actually knocked off it. A lot of problems for the Andrettis, haven't seen them recently. Their car dropping way back. Problems mainly with the clutch and gearbox. More work going on in the Nissan pit. Their mechanics were amongst some of the busiest. V8 fires up. Twin turbo engine, remember, about 600 horsepower. And off they go, but way down the order. And that order still about basically Porsche versus McLaren BMW. And problems for the Viper now in the engine department. And the moon just sliding behind the clouds. And the race continuing without any incidents whatsoever. Le Mans at night sometimes sees some big incidents and the safety car coming out, but running extremely smoothly. See very few spectators up there in the grandstand. And then the sun comes up. Well, I'm not sure he's enjoying it too much, is he? But still, at the front, it was the 2 Porsche GT1s, 25, and that close behind, on the same lap, car number 26. Stuck, Wallach and Boutsen, chased by Dalmas, Kelleners and Collard. In third place, there, the tricky Indianapolis corner, Alboreto Johansson and young Tom Christensen, the 29-year-old Dane in his first Le Mans. Really put in a great effort during the night. Then in fourth place, this car, the number 41, Gunon, Raffanel and Olafsson car. There is Anders Olafsson waiting to get in the car, leading GT2 after the Vipers having problems. Swiss-prepared car, Michel Neugarten, the German, the best known of those drivers. There, the positions after 15 hours, the Porsches and then the McLaren BMWs. And the TWR Porsche just dropped a little bit off the pace, as you see there, running 2 laps behind. And there is a factory Porsche. That is the Stuck Wallach Boutsen car. Bob Wallach was at the wheel, and that car has stopped. and it's behind the Armco. I think that's at Arnage. And so, the number 25 car now unchallenged at the front. Well, I say unchallenged, but there, the Jost Porsche just trying to unlap itself, and indeed it does. And so the number 7 car really on the charge now. And Michele Alboreto doing a fantastic job. And that's Arnage. I'm just trying to see any sign of that other Porsche. Well, our camera car hitting problems, Furte Trevenan and von Gartzen. And word coming through that Bob Wallach, oh, flames coming out there. Bob Wallach, in fact, hitting the Armco in the Porsche and damaging it too much. It may apparently have been a broken drive shaft just before the accident, which may have thrown him off. Brilliant Bob Wallach. Well, he'll be so sad. It looks as if the race was going to be theirs. The number 39 McLaren coming in, and that's a penalty. And that looks as if it's speeding in the pit road. That's what that sin bin's for. And quite a long stop. It might be the second time they've done that, actually, and if so, they'll have to wait there 4 minutes, a complete lap. Trevenan walking in, and a bit of a spin there from the McLaren. Now, tiredness beginning to show. And the 42 car, after those early problems, moving right up the field, right back well inside the top 10. And here the car, see what happened with the back end stepping out, just too much power. They've got 600 plus horsepower. And the flames come out, and it looks as if it's charging the wall. JJ Leto at the wheel, and bang, and going in hard. Well, surely that's done a lot of damage to the front. Those sorts of incidents usually split oil coolers, radiators. It's limping back to the pits. And the 78 car, what? The wheel flies off, and that car was leading GT2. That's the Elf Habertha team car, and Neugarten, Martinol and Langnier. Well, that looks as if it's curtains for that machine. Maybe he might be able to limp it back. Well, they'd had a few problems with a jammed wheel earlier in the race, in the pit stops, and maybe the thread is damaged. Comes into the corner. I think maybe the wheel's already loose, and then it flies off, and well, literally 3 wheels on my wagon, and a bit of damage there to the wheel arch, and we see it yet again. And the wheel contained within the safety aspects of the circuit. So this is the leading car, and you can really see the travel stains down it now. This must be the new leader of GT2, Andre Ahl, Bruno Eichmann and Andy Pilgrim, originally from Nottingham, but now with American citizenship. And he's a quick peddler. It's a Rook Racing entry, and Rook came to Le Mans last year, that team, and won GT2. Third place in that category, Beretta, Gash and Dupuis. Have had some problems, but now the 61 car seems to be going very quickly. Remember, you saw it in the pits. Mainly electrical problems, I think. And that Porsche not only is limped into the pits, but goes out again. Well, here is the Ferrari, and that's Max Papis. They call him Mad Max Papis, Italian driver, briefly in Formula One, now racing out in the States. And he's in the Momo Porsche, and Stefan Johansson, is it Stefan ready to climb on board? Yes, it is. So Alboreto climbs out, and that car has been making up time on the lead number 25 machine and giving good chase, I believe. German efficiency. There you see it flashing. The rattle guns go. This car running on Goodyear tyres as it did last year. It's the same car which won last year, different drivers, but the same car. Remember last year driven by Davy Jones, Manuel Reuter and Alex Wurz, who has now moved briefly into Formula One with Benetton. And the 33 car, let's go. Oh, a lot of water coming out of the back of the Schubel entry. Well, it's been doing that for quite a long time, so maybe it can still run, but certainly worrying under great flames spurting out of the back of the car. That car in the top 10. Johansson knows he has a big job on his hands, and some British enthusiasts there obviously love their face painting. Proud of the Union Jack. And another pit stop. And the car needs a new nose, but that will lose a little bit of time, so a bit of respite for the GT1 car. Team run by Reinhold Jost, 61-year-old team boss, who used to race very regularly here. The car carrying number 7. Last year it was lucky number 7 on the car. Back in the 80s when the Jost team run back-to-back their car, it ran number 7. Well, this McLaren has been running very well. The 41, Gunon, Rafael and Olafsson car has been running well all through the race. And another excursion by the sole surviving Nissan 23 car, and a routine stop for 26. So, climbing aboard Collard, and you notice the padding is just a bit shorter in the leg than Kellener's. Meanwhile, this is the car which gives good chase. Remember, it's a car which led early in the race. Oh, and that's a turbo problem. The car which was leading, GT2, has popped a turbo. Well, amazingly, they can change those things in about 7 or 8 minutes. And we have a spinner. I think that's the La Filière Courage again. And it's Pescarolo at the wheel. And the old veteran makes a second mistake, and that's very rare for him. And, oh, this is the, well, crabbing badly. Has it lost a wheel? Or broken rear suspension, I think, on the 27 car. And this is the Labra competition, another of the GT2 Porsches. And in the late stage of the race, people are hitting problems. But let's just check out the current positions. That's 3/4 of the way through. Porsche, the GT car, then the Jost 1 lap behind, and then 3 McLarens, and then the best of the privateer Porsches, the 33 car. That's the one with the water coming out, incidentally. Well, the 78 car is going fine now, and I think it's even back in the lead of GT2. GT2 for the less powerful cars. They run on narrower tyres, less horsepower, closer to the standard car you can buy in the showroom, basically. But 75 looks as if it might be history. They've been running well. It's Bourdais, Kitchak and Rosande from Brazil. Incidentally, quite a lot of others dropped by the wayside. The Lotus Juan Paynos actually got inside the top 10, the Wallace Weaver Leitzinger car, but that has now also retired. So hope to see that American machine back next year. There's Yannick Dalmas looking for his 4th victory. Was 2nd last year. And what's going on here? Oh, a stuck wheel nut. And that's on the Chamberlain car, which had all kinds of problems. And there, that's the Labra competition version. That's now retired. I'm sure where the driver's looking to. The fine slow-mo shot of curb hopping, courtesy of Schnitzer BMW. Oh, great shot, that. Another pit stop for the lead car. Again, the team well marshalled. No panic. No brake pad changes this time. And no change of driver either. Well, yes, they're looking at the front of the car. I wonder if there is a problem. And certainly losing a little bit of time. And, well, the Jost team will know that. Oh, I think it's just a precautionary check. Probably looking at the brake pads, actually. Oh, and yet another Courage is in the gravel. This is the number 8 car. Well, it has actually been working its way up the field, Clerico, Pescarolo and Belloc. And this time, I think it's Belloc at the wheel. That car has visited the gravel in front of our cameras at least 3 times. Just mention of, we haven't seen much of it, but the other Courage, the later C41 of Didier Cottaz, Jérôme Policand and Mark Goossens, that has been running very strongly, second of the prototypes. Maybe we'll get a shot in a few moments. Well, one Nissan now still going. And not going as quickly as the Golf McLaren. Certainly, we've seen an excellent performance by Gounon, Rafanel and Anders Olafsson. Now, Viper in problems, that's Oliver Beretta. Remember, the one factory car was eliminated in an incident. Looks as if the other one's going out the same way. A new fastest lap. Well, the charge is definitely on. New fastest lap to the Jost Porsche, chasing after the 26 machine. There you see they're on the same lap now. It's Christensen at the wheel. The guy who currently leads. What's this? Fire! Look at the fire on the lead car, and that's history. That is out. Oh, dear me. The car, which looks as if it's going to win. There is Kellener's. Bumps into the Armco, the car bursting into flames for no apparent reason at all. He calls for the marshals to come, but that car is out of the race, the car which led for so long. Well, Porsche, they must be devastated. They saw their other car go out in an unusual incident. Bob Wallach, the experienced Wallach, crashing, maybe because of a problem. And now this car just bursting into flames. There's Norbert Singer. He walks away, the emotions obviously flooding through his brain. They've worked so hard for victory here. And Kellener's almost inconsolable there. And on the pit board, it tells the story. The Jost car now in the lead. And the team watch it on the television. And they know instantly that car was out, out, out. So now Christensen at the wheel. The Jost Porsche. The nearest car now, the Golf McLaren, the 41 car. Then you see the Fina McLaren, the second, the Cox Ravaglia car, and now the second of the 2 Golf McLarens. This is incredible. That too is on fire, burning brightly. Andrew Gilbert-Scott, I think, is at the wheel. And he's still continuing, and the flames lick all around the back. He surely knows, yes, well, he's obviously heading for a marshal's post. And that car, remember, one Golf car burnt out completely in qualifying, and Gilbert-Scott bails out. Had been running in a firm 5th place, and the marshals come and, well, the GTC team see 2 of their cars go up in flames over the last 3 days. And they still haven't put the flames out, so 2 of the top 5 cars within 20 minutes of each other bursting into flames, and, of course, the leaderboard has been rewritten. Well, that's down in the Golf pit. Meanwhile, it says it clearly. Place number 1, Alboreto, Johansson and Christensen. But they're only 1 lap ahead of Gounon, Rafanel and Olafsson. And they are a couple of laps. There's the 3rd place car, Cox, Ravaglia and Hellery. That's another couple of laps down. This car, spewing out water still, Lamy, Guslar and Armin Harder. They've moved up to 4th. Now it's that Courage I mentioned, Cottaz, Policand and Mark Goossens. Excellent performance for them, some early problems. And the popular Ferrari is up into 6th place. Then it's the car which spins off regularly, but it's now 7th. Then in 8th place, the Italian-run Porsche, Martini Pescatori. And then the best of the GT2s can be in 9th place at Le Mans, despite losing a wheel. And then 10th, that car which has blown 2 turbos. And 11th place, the 3 brothers from Portugal, although they now live in France. Then 12th, well, soldiering on despite all the problems, the remaining Nissan. In 13th place, Hurtgen and the 2 British enthusiasts, Price and Robinson. And then we've got the surviving factory Viper, Bell, Yver and Morton. That's the 1996 version. And there's the private car, Nurminen, who's been very ill through the race. Hugenholtz from Holland and Chris Gleason from America. In 16th place, the Mazda, which has been in the pits for about 4 hours all in total. And then in last place, the Ekblom Ricky Liebherr car. Ekblom very quick in that early on. And there are the 17 survivors, and all eyes now craned towards the start-finish line because the Le Mans 24 Hours is all but run. Michele Alboreto is already waving to the crowd on this, the last lap. We are just a few seconds away from the checkered flag, and there it goes. And a fantastic second successive win for Jost Porsche. Michele Alboreto crowning his career, driving with Stefan Johansson and, of course, Tom Christensen. And the British design chassis with the Porsche engine so reliable, that team running like clockwork. There's the second place Gulf McLaren, confirmation of the result. Victory margin, just one lap. In third place, the McLaren. And there you see the rest of the positions. Alboreto, Johansson, Christensen first, Gunon, Raffanel and Olofsson second, Cox, Ravaglia and Hillary third. Then Kotaz, Policand and Goossens in the Courage fourth. And the hats, that's the trick. There you go, flying into the crowd. There's Alboreto in the foreground. The flags wave, flags of many nations. See a Brazilian one there. Saw a Danish flag for Christensen. There, the blonde, tousled-haired Christensen and Stefan Johansson receiving the trophy. And the jubilation. There's Anders Olofsson, who did such a great job for Gulf, driving with the two Frenchmen. And that team, of course, winning the GT category. And so, the 65th running of the Great Le Mans 24 Hours, a tremendous success. Some incidents, but not a single safety car, not one injury, and the garlands and the smiles say it all, and so do the Gallic kisses from Jean-Marc Gounon. That's the trio who finished third, Roberto Ravaglia in the middle. And now the awards to the winners of GT2. Reliability paying out, and them finishing in 9th place overall. And they're not going to throw the... No, they don't throw the trophy. And so, the end there of what's been a forever close Le Mans, a spectacular race, a clean event. From me, Andrew Marriott, it's goodbye.